set of sources. We're talking notes, reflections that get right to the heart of personal efficiency.
Yeah, and not in the way you'd think. This isn't about apps or scheduling hacks.
No, not at all. Our focus is on maximizing your focus by understanding the hidden cost of misplaced effort. We're looking at material that frames generosity when it's shared with someone who isn't ready for it as a tax.
A literal tax on your most productive, disciplined time. It's an extraordinary idea.
It really is. It shifts the whole conversation from time management to, I guess, energy integrity.
Exactly. We're drawing from this narrative of a master trader who learned, the hard way that sharing his clarity with people who hadn't done the work was a huge violation of his own internal system.
So our mission today is to give you a framework to spot those leaks and maybe seal them. And this isn't about being selfish.
No, it's about alignment.
It's about protecting your own process to avoid what the source actually calls self-betrayal.
And that's the core conflict, right? When you get good at something, you want to bring others with you. But the deep dive asks a really tough question.
Which is,
When does that generous impulse stop being helpful and start becoming, destructive to your own success? That's what we need to get into.
absolutely. So let's start where the trader's narrative begins, with the day this lesson really hit home.
Right. So the prologue, it paints this picture of a perfect morning. The trader wakes up, they've done the work, the analysis is done.
Total clarity.
Complete clarity. The trade they're about to make is described as luminous and obvious. Every part of them is just aligned for this one disciplined action. They're in the zone.
They earned it. But instead of just acting on it, they make what the notes call the fatal mistake.
Mm-hmm.
He decides to try and bring others with me.
Which sounds so noble on the surface.
It does, but the source is really specific about the cost.
Yeah.
This wasn't just, forwarding an idea. It says this involved calls, messages, explanations tailored to each person's level of understanding. Oh, wow. So just think about that cognitive load. He's trying to compress years of experience into a few texts for people who are, half interested.
Exactly. It's the ultimate context switch. And the source gives us the exact price he paid for this.
Which was 3 hours.
3 hours of irreplaceable focus. And we have to stick on that word, irreplaceable. It wasn't just any 3 hours. It was the peak window where he had that luminous conviction.
Right. Because you can't just text someone your conviction. It doesn't transfer.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't done the work, so they couldn't possibly feel what he was feeling.
They lacked the foundation to act on it, even with the answer handed to them.
And the consequence was immediate. While he's busy explaining everything, the opportunity.
It moved without them. But here's the kicker. The text adds, it also moved without me too.
Oof. So in trying to help everyone else, he lost his own chance.
He did. The misalignment cost him everything. And what's so powerful is he doesn't blame them. He doesn't blame the market.
He blames himself.
Yes. He recognized he had violated his own ritual. He says, I had sacrificed my alignment to their unreadiness.
And this is where the language gets really, really blunt. The note uses a very old phrase to summarize the mistake.
Yeah, it's a direct quote from his self-critique, and it's harsh. He says, I had cast pearls to swine.
It's a tough metaphor, but we have to understand it in this context.
Right. The pearls here aren't just information. It's the wisdom, the focus, the years of work that went into that clarity.
And the swine isn't an insult to the people. It represents anyone who is fundamentally unready to value that input.
Exactly. It's a metaphor for protecting the wisdom itself. You don't give something precious to someone who has no way to understand its value.
It's like a profound insult to your own effort, devaluing your most precious asset, your focus, by giving it away.
Precisely. And that 3-hour sacrifice wasn't just about lost money. There was an immediate internal cost.
Which brings us to the second part of this deep dive, the physical cost, the architecture of stress.
Yeah, if part one was the philosophical violation, this is the biological blowback.
So the sources argue stress isn't just in your head. How did that self-betrayal actually show up for the trader physically?
This is where it gets really fascinating. The material explicitly states, your body knows before your mind admits it.
That feeling of dread when you agree to something you don't want to do.
That's it. It's not a mood, it's a systemic alarm.
So what did his alarm bell look like? What were the specific reactions?
The notes are almost like a lab report. He detailed the fallout, an immediate cortisol spike, not from the market, but from the internal conflict.
Okay.
Mentioned specifically in the jaw and the neck. And the big one? Fragmented sleep. That classic, dreaded 3 a.m. wake-up call.
The 3 a.m. inventory of every bad decision you've ever made.
That's the one. And his conclusion was that these weren't just random stress. They were the organism rejecting the foreign substance of self-betrayal.
Wow. So your body treats acting against your values like a poison or an allergen.
Exactly, like a low-grade allergic reaction. You are literally poisoning your own system by not being true to your own code.
That is such a powerful way to frame it. But how did he know for sure it was the internal stuff and not just, the pressure of his job?
He ran a test on himself, a discipline test. He started journaling and contrasting two kinds of days.
Okay, what were they?
Aligned days and misaligned days. On the aligned days, when he stuck to his process, didn't explain himself to the uncommitted, he slept like a rock. His body was, as he put it, at peace.
And the misaligned days?
Those were the days he was chasing people, over-explaining, or letting what he calls complainers into my mental space.
And on those days?
The whole system revolted, the jaw tension, the bad sleep, it all came flooding back.
So the market could be going crazy, but that wasn't the variable that mattered.
Not at all. The external pressure was a constant. The real stressor was internal. It came from the misalignment.
So let's talk about that, the internal operating system. There's an analogy here in the source material that's just essential.
It's the central insight, really. It says your core values. What makes you say yes or no. They are the operating system of your nervous system.
The operating system, I like that.
And if you run contrary code, if you keep overriding your own intuition, we're basically starting a system crash.
Can you give us an example of that contrary code for someone who isn't a trader, something, more every day?
Absolutely. Think about saying yes to a project at work you don't have time for, and you just resent it. You do it out of obligation.
Okay, yeah.
The moment you agree, your mind says, I'm being a team player, but your nervous system registers betrayal. That's the contrary code running, and that's why you wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about that stupid PowerPoint you don't want to make.
That makes the cost feel so immediate. It turns integrity into like a health strategy.
It is. So if that's the internal drain, the trader then identifies a huge external one in Chapter 2. He calls it the complainer's contagion.
Okay, the complainer's contagion. Let's unpack that.
This is about the energy sink that lives outside you. The source defines this person as someone who transmutes every circumstance into grievance.
They have an excuse for everything.
Everything. It's always an external lens. The market is rigged. The system is broken.
Everyone else got lucky.
Yeah.
They believe they were failed, not that they failed.
Right. And the trader points out why these people aren't just annoying, but actually dangerous to your focus. He calls the victim narrative a virus.
And conversation with them is
airborne transmission.
That's a strong metaphor. How does that infection work? Because you'd think, my own discipline is a fortress. I can hear someone complain and just brush it off.
That's what you'd think. You think you're insulated. But the trader found through his journaling that just being near it was corrosive.
So you don't even have to agree with them.
No. He found that within hours of being exposed to it, he started thinking in their patterns.
Whoa. So it's subtle. You don't start making excuses out loud, but your own internal monologue starts to shift.
Precisely. Suspicion starts to replace curiosity. Instead of asking, what did I miss? Your first thought becomes, ugh, was this set up for me to fail?
So they're not arguing you into their worldview.
They pollute the atmospheric pressure of your mind until their excuses start to feel reasonable. It just lowers the bar for your own accountability.
And that is so dangerous. It's an infection of mindset.
It is. Which brings up a fair question, right? If the solution is avoidance, isn't that cruel or isolating? Do you just cut off anyone who's having a hard time?
That's a good point. How does the source handle that?
It clarifies that this isn't about being cruel. It's about being faithful to your own mission, to your health. It's self-preservation.
So how does he define it?
He says avoidance, in this context, is not cruelty. It is immune system function.
Immune system function. Protecting the operating system from bad code. That reframes the whole thing.
It does. It stops being a moral choice and becomes a biological one.
Yeah.
If you know that exposure to this causes you measurable stress, cortisol, tension, bad sleep, then managing that exposure isn't optional.
It's just essential maintenance if you want to perform at a high level.
Exactly.
This has been, wow, an incredibly insightful deep dive looking at the measurable costs of misalignment, both internal and external.
Absolutely. And for you, the listener, the takeaways are really practical. First, you have to protect the clarity you've earned. Don't pay the tax of explaining yourself to people who aren't ready. The cost is real and it's physical.
And second, defend your mental space. Recognize that complainer's contagion for what it is, a virus. Protecting your alignment is, Well, it's critical for focus and for avoiding that physical stress.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for you to take with you. If your nervous system sees self-betrayal acting against your core values as a foreign substance,
Mm.
then what low-grade activities are you doing every day, maybe out of habit or obligation, that are silently triggering your body's rejection mechanism?
That's a great question to end on.
Listen for it. Pay attention to the tension in your jaw or why you're waking up at night. Your body is always giving you feedback on your own integrity.